The following stories are inspired by documented paranormal encounters. Some locations and identities may have been changed to protect the people involved. These stories may be disturbing for younger audiences, and listener discretion is advised. This podcast is based on true events.
Hi, I'm Dalia, she, they.
Hey, I'm B, she, they.
Hi, I'm Brandon, he, him.
And this podcast is based on true events. Nice.
Nice. It is 10 in the morning, which may not seem early for other people, but it kind of is for me.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
However,
On a Saturday.
On a Saturday, it's normal for me, kind of, though, because I usually get up at 9 anyway on the weekends. I've been pretty good about that for the most part.
Not me. Sometimes I lay in bed till like 11:30.
Well,
but vibe checks. How are we?
Yeah, vibe checks. Let's do it. B?
I'm good. I'm excited. I've got a party I'm going to later today, and I'm looking forward to it.
Hell yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Jinx.
I'm fine. The thing on the back of my hand that I believe we talked about last recording session, it still hasn't really gotten better. In fact, it's gotten a little worse because I fucked it up and put hydrogen peroxide on it, and that kind of made it start doing stuff. We've decided that I need to get to a doctor about it and see what's going on with that. But for now, I'm doing what I can. And so, while that's annoying and a bit itchy, that I'm otherwise okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I am good. I have iced coffee. Drink iced coffee.
Panic
attack. I'm sure I'm okay. But I have my iced coffee. I'm looking forward to, things. That sounds weird, but like I'm doing better. Recently I had a funk and now I'm doing better, so I'm
good.
Yeah.
Glad to hear that.
That's basically it.
Cool.
We ready?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like B said, they have a party to get to after recording, so we're gonna try these next 5 episodes to not be too brisk with you guys, but to move it along. You know what I mean?
Choo-choo.
All right. So nobody here has really worked in the security business, have they?
No.
I wouldn't think so. The closest I've gotten was to I was a janitor, which not the same. But in the sense where you're like overnight at a place,
yeah.
Usually the only one there. It can kind of be similar sometimes, I'm making this intro up on the fly, by the way. It's just some things I'm thinking about this next story that I have for you guys. I feel like working in the security business because in some instances it's like a company that's sending you out to different places that need security. Mm-hmm. I can imagine being in some really dicey situations through that. You never know where you're going to be sent, whether it's like downtown at a rundown building or out in the middle of nowhere, right? Well, that is kind of the situation that the people in this next story find themselves in.
Sick.
So, as told by the show, These Woods Are Haunted, I give you the story that I like to call the Church of Isolation.
Great.
That does not sound great, actually.
Now that I'm thinking about it.
First of all, it's a church. Second of all, we're isolated? From what?
Yeah, nothing about that sentence is good. So, Josh Turner has been in the security business for about 25 years. At the time of this story, owns his own security business in Texas. His friend of over 20 years, Gary Lopez, works for Josh in this business, and at this point, the business has been around for like 14 years, right? So, pretty well established. So, these two guys have known each other for a good long while, long enough to put trust in each other, which I feel like is important to note for this story. Josh's business was partnered up with a security company, and one day, they got a contract offer with a pretty substantial pay. The one thing that struck Josh as odd about the offer was that the building in question would be about 50 to 60 miles out in the middle of nowhere. Josh decides that before he takes the offer, he would drive up to the building and check it out. Driving up to it, Josh says that it was completely surrounded by trees, with a gravel driveway being the sole way in and out of the property. The moment he pulls up to the property, he says he immediately had like a weird feeling in his gut. The building looked to be an old church. Talking to a foreman at the site, Josh learns that the building had been empty for about 20 years now, and that apparently the owners were trying to renovate the place to make it usable as a church again. The church had already been without security for the past couple days because the last company had just up and left. They were done. On his tour of the building, Josh commented that it looked like the place had been vandalized. Ladders had been found broken, paint cans had been thrown around and spilled. The place was a mess. And on top of that, Josh was told that crosses that the owners had put up would be found either turned upside down on the wall where they hanged, or thrown across the room.
Lovely.
Some religious statues had also been found smashed on the floor. And the contractor had even been hit in the head with a religious picture that had fallen on him. This last one stood out a bit. That sounded more like an accident than vandalism. Why did the foreman need to feel the need to add that one in? Another extremely odd thing that happened was that someone had taken a power washer that was inside the building and threw it out of a glass window. The building had been locked up at the time, so they didn't know how somebody would have gotten in there to begin with, and let alone how they would even lift the heavy power washer in the first place. It was one of those industrial ones. I don't know if you've ever seen those or tried to pick those up or move those, but they've got some heft to them.
They're sturdy.
And to pick them up and throw it through a window with enough force to shatter the window, that's a lot. The foreman said that it felt like someone was trying to keep them from finishing the job, and that's why the place needed the security. While there were a lot of things that didn't seem to add up, the pay was good. So after consulting with the partner company, Josh took on the job. And so, Josh talks to some of his guards and gets a schedule going. The first guard had a problem on his very first night. Apparently, he said that he had been locked inside of the church for a time. As he was finishing up a patrol of the inside of the church, he's going to leave when he finds the doors will just not budge no matter how much he tries. The guard was so scared that he even admitted to urinating on himself, and the moment he was finally able to get the doors opened up, he left in the middle of his shift.
Wow.
The next night, a different guard is sent out to watch over the property, and he, too, leaves in the middle of the night after claiming that someone had touched him despite nobody else being around, and at one point being so scared he fell over a pew. Both of these guards claim that they had also been seeing ghosts on the property, like just straight up. So before Josh sends a third guard out to the church, he asks them point blank, "Do you believe in ghosts?" But third guy just chuckles and claims that he didn't believe in anything like that. If you've seen the worker types, a lot of them would probably act like this, like, "No, I've seen too much. I know too much. It's fine. I don't believe in ghosts." However, he too leaves in the middle of the night. Claims of the lights in the bathroom turning off and on. Unexplained troubles that with opening not only the bathroom door but the door to the church itself. Hearing voices all around them. Seeing things in the woods. All three of the guards who were sent into the church came back with similar stories. Finally, Josh calls up Gary, someone he knows he can trust to get the job done, and asks him if he can give him just a couple days, guarding this place. They needed someone to do it after all. He even offers to give Gary a ride to the place. Josh thinks that even if there is something going on up at that old church, that Gary of all people would be able to handle it. Gary, having heard the stories from the previous guards, felt a little creeped out as he was driven 60 miles outside of town into a place completely surrounded by trees. But he thought that there was no way that things were as bad as people were saying, right? After making absolutely sure that Gary was okay and willing to go to do the job, Josh dropped him off and started back off down the road. He had his own security job to work that night. The contractor that told them that they didn't care what they did when they were guarding the place. They basically just wanted a body around to deter more vandalism. So, to distract from his eerie surroundings of the old, dark church, Gary brought a handheld game to play and got to work on that after sitting down in a pew. At around 12:31 in the morning, Gary starts to hear a crunching sound outside of the church. like footsteps on the gravel of the courtyard. He perks up and puts away his game. Was he about to catch the vandals? As he searched around outside, he didn't see anyone but could still clearly hear the noise. He even followed it as it seemed to circle around the building before stopping. After the noise stopped, Gary stood there looking around in silence for a bit, straining his ears to try to hear more. Maybe whatever it was had gone into the woods that surrounded the property. After not hearing anything more, Gary goes back inside to get back to his game. He does note that he had to struggle for a bit to get the door open, though. A couple hours later, at around 3 or 4 a.m., Gary starts to hear the very distinct sound of a woman sobbing from outside the church. Who in the world would be out this far? Did someone live around here that he didn't know of? Walking out the church door, Gary sees a woman in a long dress walking away from him down the side of the building. He calls out, asking if she was okay, but gets no response. He cautiously walks towards her as she rounds the corner of the building, but as he also turns it only a couple seconds later, she's nowhere to be seen. Just gone. The crying had stopped. The sound of the walking had stopped. While Gary was weirded out and a bit scared by the situation, he also had no way to leave the place if he did want to. He was stuck there on his own. So he just told himself that she must have left, and left it at that. The next morning when Josh picked him up, Gary told him about the events the night before, but also said that he had no problem going out there again the next night. Gary said that if that was really the worst of it that he'd experienced, then he had no problem. He'd be fine. So the next night, Josh drops Gary off again at the church before driving off to head to his own job. Once again, Gary takes a seat at the pew inside and starts playing his handheld game. At around 11:30 midnight-ish time, Gary goes to the bathroom. When he's in the bathroom, the lights start flicking themselves on and off, just flickering. Gary tries to dismiss it as possible faulty electricity. The church was currently being refurbished after all. Then, Gary starts hearing the sound of deep scratching coming from all around him. As he looks around with his flashlight, a noise starts happening simultaneously. Gary describes it as the sound of someone slapping the wall behind him. So as the sound of this scratching is going on all around him, he also has to deal with the slapping of the wall. And it's always behind him. Seeing nobody and nothing around him to explain the noise, Gary decides to just get out of the room. He reaches the door, only to find that it is now not budging. As the noises grow louder around him, Gary pulls on the door with all his might, but it refuses to open. Finally, he gives one last tug, and the door opens right up. Weirded out by the situation, but with nothing really to do about it, Gary returns to his pew and his game. About an hour or so later, Gary starts getting tired and starts to doze off, little by little. Around 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, Gary has his head in his crossed arms on the pew in front of him, and he's just about fully asleep when he feels something like a hand grab onto his ankle from behind under the pew. Gary says it felt almost like a dry sandpaper feeling and reminded him of really dry skin.
Ew.
He slaps at the hand and yells at it to let him go, but the hand just pulls harder, dragging his foot back under the pew towards it almost.
Ow.
It felt like this thing was trying to pull him under it. Terrified, Gary grabs the pew in front of him and does everything he can to pull himself free, but this thing is strong. As he struggles against the strength of the hand, Gary sees a figure in the corner of his eye. A tall, shadowy figure stands against the wall wearing what looks to be a hooded robe. The figure shakes in an odd way. What is it doing? That's when Gary hears it. A deep, distorted sound of laughing. The thing was laughing at him, like it was heartily enjoying the scene before it. After struggling with the hand for around 15 to 20 minutes, Gary was finally able to pry its fingers off of his ankle and jump up out of the pews. As the laughter rang out behind him, Gary sprinted to the front door of the church. As he tried to push the door open, he described the feeling as if somebody was pushing back against him on the other side, trying to keep him inside the church. With a final push, Gary finally falls out onto the steps of the porch and rushes down into the gravel driveway. He finds a place to sit for a minute and collect himself. As he tries to calm his racing heart, he notices that his ankle is hurting. Examining it, he finds his ankle now has a bruise around it in the shape of a handprint. Once he calms down enough, Gary calls Josh and begs him to come pick him up right that second. Well, now that one of Josh's best was reporting the same experiences as everyone else, he had no choice but to admit that something was wrong. Deeply wrong. Gary had done security for him in all kinds of rough places and had never been shaken before. What was going on at that church? As Gary is waiting for Josh to pick him up, he starts to hear the sounds of whispered voices all around him. He can't exactly make out what they're saying, just a few words here and there. He also notices some words were being spoken in Spanish. About 5 a.m, Josh finally shows up. He had never seen his friend that frantic before. All Gary was able to get across is that he had been attacked and that he would not be going back to that church. That means the job was now up to Josh. The next night, Josh finds himself driving down that dark, forested road, and he was not looking forward to this. He was not looking forward to it. As he turned, he was not looking forward to his turn, rather, after all he had heard about the place from his employees. Josh pulls up in his truck. He would take his shift in there. No need to go in the church if he didn't have to. For the first few hours, nothing was going on. But nature calls for us all, and the only bathroom was inside of the church. As he approaches the building, Josh is suddenly met with a cacophony of sounds all at once. Footfalls of what sounded like several people charging around in the gravel around him. A deep, echoey laugh in the distant woods. Whispered voices all around him. Josh makes out one of the whispers to be saying, "Como te llamas?" What's your name in Spanish? Freaked out, Josh rushes into the church, hoping beyond hope that his imagination is just running wild. Going into the bathroom, Josh remembered the stories of the door not wanting to open and decided to prop it open with a nearby stone. He goes to do his business, and suddenly the lights start to flicker on and off. Just as Josh is thinking about running out of there, he listens from his stall as he hears the sound of the stone he used to prop open the door slide across the floor, and the door slams shut.
Hell no.
There was no way the door could have moved the stone on its own. It was heavy enough that the only way it could have been moved was for someone to physically move it. Josh starts calling out and announcing his presence, like, "Hey, someone's in here," that kind of stuff. The flickering lights flick off one more time and stay there, plunging Josh into darkness.
Jesus.
He tries his flashlight, but finds that it is now not turning on. Terrified, Josh gropes his way along the bathroom, trying to find the door and hoping that his way to the door... Hold on. Trying to find the door and hoping that his way to the door... I don't know why I wrote that. I messed up. Trying to find the door and hoping even more that his outstretched hands don't meet with anything else in the process. When Josh does make it to the door, it thankfully opens without an issue, and his flashlight actually starts to work again. As he re-enters the main church area, Josh hears what he thinks is the sound of people whispering in Latin from all around him. He had taken some in college. He knew what it sounded like for the most part. Getting to the front door, Josh is not surprised to find it hard to open. This has been a constant occurrence in the stories of his employees, after all. Just like Gary, Josh notes that as he pushed on the door, it felt like someone was pushing back from the other side. Also, just like Gary, he is eventually able to get the door open. So, Josh goes back to his truck, ready to get out of there. He'd seen enough to realize that his employees were right. Something was deeply wrong with this place. But as he goes to start his truck up, the truck fails to start.
Oh, shit. Whoops.
Something that had never happened to him before. It was a fairly new truck, and now he was stuck. Terrified, and with nothing else to do, Josh grabs a blanket from his back seat and just tries to wait out the night. At about 4 a.m, Josh starts to hear the sound of whispering coming from his left and looks out his window just in time to see a woman walk by. The woman looked like part of her face had been missing, like the flesh had just rotted away. Josh looks all around, trying to find the woman again, but it's like she had vanished the moment she passed by his driver's side window. As he looked back to the front out the windshield, he is now terrified to find that there are people standing in front of his truck staring in at him. All of them look in the same state as the woman from earlier, rotted and disfigured. Josh frantically tries to start his truck again, but it's like whatever was out there had drained the battery entirely. Josh also notices himself start to feel weaker, almost like he was being drained. The thought of his spirit being sucked right out of his body crosses his mind, and he starts to pray out of desperation. Then, just like that, Josh is able to finally start up his truck and peels out of there. Later on, Josh and Gary find out more about the history of the old church. It had once been a Spanish missionary. Gradually, the Spaniards abandoned it, and they used it as a dumping ground for people with leprosy.
Oh. Damn.
People who died were buried on the property, and eventually the church was burned down with those remaining still alive inside of it.
Oh, shit.
It would be no surprise to me that after all that death and isolation that occurred on the property, that a cloud of darkness still lurks in those woods to this very day.
Yeah, being burned alive seems like a good fucking reason to stick around and haunt something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And from what it sounds like to me, usually death by fire, it's so painful and so disorienting. At least from what it sounds like, I can only imagine that death by fire just causes more spirits to stick around, because it's almost like
one of the most traumatic deaths.
Yeah, it's really traumatic. Yeah.
You got pictures for us?
I do have pictures. Are there any questions beforehand about the story in general?
The only note that I had written down was, I don't believe in God, but the second crosses start turning and religious items start falling off fucking walls.
And the statues are all busted and stuff.
Out of there, pal.
There's power in belief, that's why.
Because you're also right.
Yeah.
When stuff like that specifically starts to happen, it feels very intentional. Whether it's religious or not,
Yeah.
things like that, okay, something is trying to scare you.
Like
because
that-
it knows upside down crosses and these broken figures are scaring people, so it's doing it on purpose, right?
That Jesus picture in my basement that I will not touch. I don't know what it is, but something about that picture says, leave me right here.
You got it, boss.
So I'm going to do that.
You got it, boss.
But that was all I had.
Mm-hmm.
That was a really good story.
I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
It was. Mm-hmm. It's just very interesting because I can very much picture how I would feel being out in the middle of nowhere at night too.
Yeah.
And then to add to the creepiness, of course it's a church.
Of course it's a church.
Of course it's a church.
It has me thinking about the little church that Brandon and I got married in.
Yeah.
It's his uncle's church, and it is literally out in the middle of buttfuck nowhere in the woods.
I mean,
And that would have been pretty scary.
no, yeah, I can imagine. Especially when the church, from what I understand, was already kind of run down, like it's rickety. They're trying to fix it up. But
something about the whole church aesthetic too, that is my favorite kind of aesthetic when it comes to the paranormal and like just general creepy things. I don't know why. I'm just so like drawn in by it.
it's very, it does draw you
Is
in.
cathartic the word? I don't
know about
think
cathartic.
so.
That's a different thing.
There's a word for it. I don't know.
Water over here. Yeah, I do.
No. It's almost symbolic. I don't know.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
For me, it's like, oh, okay. And also, I kind of grew up in that environment, and so it feels familiar in a way. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think I have 3 pictures. This first one is of Josh and Gary. They were the ones who were telling the story in this. I assume he couldn't get the others the other 3 guards that he sent in to vouch or anything. But also, they seem like pretty good friends, so they probably are still in touch.
Who's Josh? Who's Gary?
Josh is on top, Gary's on bottom.
Got it.
Josh Turner and Gary Lopez.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay. So this next one, I looked and I was like, there's got to be a way to find this church and see what it looks like, right? And the thing about some of these paranormal documentary shows is they like to try to keep, especially properties I've noticed, they like to try to keep it unless it's already out in the open, like say
Lizzie Borden house.
Yeah, the Lizzie Borden house or something. They usually try to keep it like as under wraps as they can.
Yeah.
Like they stick as close to what the story is going to be, but like kind of maybe change details. But online, there's actually some people before me who were trying to find this church, right? And there are
because of this show?
Because of this show. They're
wow.
like, we're really curious. We want to know about this church. And there are 2 possibilities that I have found that people think it is most likely to be, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm going to send you the first one, and then I'm going to tell you what it is. This is the abandoned Kingsbury Chapel. Both of these are in Texas, I believe, because it would have to be to work with the story, right? So this is the first one. This is the one I think it's most likely to be.
Oh, wow.
And so try to picture the story in a new light with these, like being in these, right? Because like you have... Yeah, and I think it's safe to say that the church was never successfully renovated.
That would make sense.
So that's the first one. What do you guys think about that one?
Creepy.
Creepy? All right, so I'm going to show you this one, and I'm going to see what you think comparatively, which one you could see it being more. So this next one is the Willingham Spring Baptist Church. Hold on, let me get to the right chat. All right, I'm sending it now. And for this one, you can see I kind of got the wide shot, so you can kind of see like the gravel road, the woods beyond. You can actually see down the road where it's still surrounded by woods. So I do like this one as well. I think there's more to this than just like that front part that we've seen, because if you can see like behind it, there's like another section almost. I don't know if that's attached to the church. I believe it is, but it also could be just like a garage type deal. But
I pictured the gravel road being longer.
Yeah.
Like a long gravel road.
So it was also described, the gravel road was described as like going completely around the church. Mm-hmm. And we don't know when these pictures were taken, or at least I don't. These could have been taken before the renovation started. Maybe the gravel was new. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think, at least in my mind, the most likely one I see it being is that first one, that Kingsbury Chapel one. Mm-hmm. What do you guys think?
I'm leaning more towards the second. The first one feels like it might be too far gone to try to take on a renovation project.
That's
but
fair.
Again, like you said, we don't know when this picture was taken.
No, that's completely fair, though.
But the second picture looks like it'd be more inviting for a renovation project.
Yeah, like we can do this still.
Yeah. The first one, that's a lot.
Well, that first one I can also see like being more likely to have been burnt down before, or at least set on fire before, you know?
Yeah. Me too.
But again, we don't know too much information about what happened between the burning, if something new was built on top of that area already and then that got run down, so we don't know.
Yeah.
I would like to know more, but as is the nature of what we do here, we don't
don't know.
We rarely
We
ever
don't
have
know.
the answers.
Yep.
We rarely ever have the answers, but we always have the speculation.
Yep.
All right, but yeah, that's what I have for you today. What did you guys think of that one?
That was a really good one.
Yeah, I like that one.
I
a
enjoyed
lot.
that story.
Good, I'm glad.
Gloomy.
Sorry, my as it usually does when I start talking, like it does on stream too, the snot's coming, like I'm getting clogged up and stuff for no reason. Well,
Two things make my nose run.
I was surprised you were able to keep your cool when I said suck the soul out of his body in that story. Getting the soul sucked out of his body.
I was very
a
enthralled
line.
with the story,
Well,
so I couldn't.
That's good to know at least, right?
You see, the thing is, I have to take a shit. So I'm focused on that and not
see.
the dirty jokes.
That's fair.
Do we need to?
Do we need to pause and have you do that?
If that's okay.
All
Yeah,
right.
it
Well,
won't be
folks,
long.
we will be right back. And we're back. B, how was your shit?
Wonderful, thank you.
All right, and Dolly, what do you have for us today?
Okay, I have one allegedly true encounter. I have a question for you guys, actually.
Might have an answer.
How do you feel about dogs?
I like
I
dogs.
love
I
dogs.
love dogs, yeah.
Dogs? You guys dog people?
There's rarely animals I don't like.
So when I was somewhere under the age of 8 years old, I don't know when, but somewhere under that time period, my mom and my aunt were watching Cujo in the living room.
Oh, no.
And I was in the living room too, but I was supposed to be turned around facing the couch and not watching the movie. But of course, as a child, that's not going to happen.
Yeah,
I
of
turned
course.
over, was watching the movie anyways, had nightmares about Cujo for years. But I love dogs.
Mm-hmm.
I have a similar story with The Good Son, the Macaulay Culkin horror movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it made me really frustrated as a kid. I was very upset.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, I like dogs. I love dogs. I miss my basset hounds from high school.
Well, this allegedly true encounter, excuse me, it revolves completely around dogs.
Do any dogs die?
No.
Okay.
Good, okay.
All right, we're good.
Anyway, so, they've titled this one Howling Shadows. It was written by user Rubber Band Ball. What you doing?
This is me gearing up in case a dog dies.
We are contractually obligated to let everybody know if the dog will die.
Yes,
it's
that's
the whole
correct.
part of the trigger warning. Yeah.
I've had a rough one. It doesn't. But if for some reason I get up on it, I'm like, oh yeah, I'll stop, I'll pause, I'll be like, okay, trigger warning.
I lied.
Whoopsie doodles. That's
Whoopsie
on
doodles.
me.
That's okay.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure. We'll go back and we'll do some editing magic, right, editor?
Yes.
Okay. So you
I'll
listeners,
keep a note. If
listeners, you'll already know if the dog dies.
yeah, you will know. Check the notes just in case, like the show notes. Just in case, those will usually go there.
Okay, I don't have any of the details I usually have, like the paranormal categories or anything like that, because the way I saved it was a little odd this time. And when I went to PDF, it just gave me the title and the username.
Love
Okay,
that.
So, it's by Rubber Band Ball.
Hell yeah.
great.
There are times in my life that I just get a feeling. I do not mean that I have premonitions or experiences. I just mean to say that I have gut feelings. I'm sure that it is a universal thing. Just imagine the feeling of falling on a roller coaster mixed with a car crash. That is the closest as I can describe it. These feelings usually come before something unpleasant happens. The most vivid memory I have of this is right before my previous story, which we did not read, I apologize, concerning a Ouija board, and the most recent...
Sorry.
What'd you say?
A Luigi board?
Are we getting that story at all, or
Not this session.
okay, cool.
I know usually I'll go back and I'll do that. It's the first. Sorry.
No, you're good. The first out of order.
And the most recent is before the birth of my nieces. My sister-in-law had extreme difficulty in labor, and it was a close call. My parents, who are disbelieving in certain phenomenon, believed that I suffered from acid reflux and had me examined and medicated for what they believed to be acid reflux and anxiety. However, I truly believe that though I am not in any way whatsoever special, I have the common sense to follow my gut and listen to what my body tells me. Recently, I moved out of my old residence into a home that is a great distance away from my family and friends. This area is a new life experience, and I am well aware that stress will do strange things to your body. But there's a difference between stress and the activity going on in my home and life. I moved into a home that has a long history. Not a dark or mysterious history, just a long-standing life. The research I have done on my home revealed that there was one human death on the residence, that of an older woman who passed away in her sleep after living a long, healthy life. There was also a period in which a woman hoarded numerous animals on the residence. Though she kept them in relative health and comfortable conditions, this is how I came upon the home. The price had dropped from her housing conditions, from the amount of animals. So the condition of their house wasn't the best because of the amount of animals that she had.
Right.
Besides the history, the home is not located near any burial grounds or churches or rivers. It is located at the end of a neighborhood road in the middle of a small town. All in all, I can't find any reasoning behind the things going on in my home other than overreacting or hopefully stress, though the feeling that I have in my gut tells me otherwise. I have shadows, sounds, smells, and a strange animal taking place on the ground of my home. I started noticing these things after my dogs started acting strange. Both of them are older rescue dogs. Cardamom, a massive shaggy mixed breed who was abused as a pup because he's deaf and has severe hip dysplasia, and Damiana, we're gonna call it Damiana,
Okay.
a large pit bull mix who was rescued bait dog.
Oh.
Yep. Both usually lays about. If we want to add any kind of like mentions of animal abuse, we can. I do apologize for that.
Sure.
Both usually lays about and love to cuddle or beg for treats. I had been living in my home for about 6 months and had my dogs for about a year, so I know what their usual behavior consists of, but recently they started to act protective and almost aggressive. Never towards me though, at times. At first, Cardamom would just follow me wherever I went despite his hip issues. I played it off as him wanting to be let out or asking for food, but he refused to eat or go outside. He just wanted to be near me. Then, Damiana started standing guard wherever I went. She walked in front of me and sat next to me, putting herself between doors and myself. Both of them had become anxious when I went to the dining room, which has 2 double glass doors that lead out into the backyard that leads down into a wooded area. I usually never enter the room unless I have company and when I am cleaning. Lately, if I even go near it, Damiana will stand and refuse to let me enter, and Cardamom will howl or whimper if I step over Damiana and enter. At first, I put aside my worry and just played it off as weird behavior from dogs that I was still becoming accustomed to. Both were almost 7, and I had spent only a year with them. Then I started noticing a smell on the side of my house that was near the backyard. The dining room, kitchen, family room, restroom, and garage. So that's like in the area.
Okay.
The smell isn't a bad one per se, it just smells as if I had left the windows open and the wood area has wafted in. It usually just smells like decaying leaves. Again, not necessarily bad. Wood sap and something else. Honestly, it smells like air freshener. The smell is just disconcerting because for the longest time I believed that windows were left open or there was something wrong with the walls or insulation, allowing cool air to get in and hot air out, increasing my bills. It was only once or twice that the smell became overpowering and almost... Is it acrid? Acrid?
Acrid, yeah.
Acrid. That will come later. Along with the smell came sounds that I cannot identify. At first, it was scratching at the double doors leading to the back. I came to see if the dogs needed to be let in or out on the off chance that they weren't in my immediate vicinity. Usually, I would see them both before I even came close to the doors, so I would assume that it was the debris catching on the doors. Then I began to suspect raccoons may be making a ruckus and getting into things. My dogs wouldn't notice. One is deaf and the other is lazy. But there was never any evidence of raccoons. Still, the scratching continued, and then added to it came a whimper at times. Usually, the whimper sounded late at night when I was about to go to bed and brushing my teeth in my adjoining bathroom, and the dogs were already choosing which area of my bed to lay claim to. I thought it may have been Cardamom asking for help onto my bed, but whenever I went in, both dogs would just look at me, and I caught on to the fact that it wasn't them. The sound stopped when I left my room, and it only ever started when I was about to go to sleep. There were moments when I would just faintly hear something. Once it sounded like a strange grunting, then thumping, like a heavy ball, and another sounded like a low groan that went on for a while. But both were inside of my home with no locatable sources. I never really had my feeling until I started noticing a shadow in my house. Both of my dogs would always be around me, so I knew it couldn't have been them. At first, I just caught it out of the corner of my eye outside of the living room window. It was usually a hunched up mass around the size of a large dog. And when I turned to look at it, the shadow wouldn't be there. Neither dog seemed to react to it, so I just put it from my mind. It wasn't until I started to see it out by the woods that I became concerned. It would hover by the tree ledge and stand there, so I honestly just believed it to be an animal or maybe a stray dog. The first feeling I had was when I walked into the dining room without my furry entourage and opened the door to call to it. I always found stray animals when I was younger, so I thought to see if I could get it closer to return it or maybe startle it off if it was wild. When I pushed against the door to enter my backyard, I felt my stomach clench. It was as if I was staring at a semi-truck coming straight at me and I couldn't move. The shadow seemed to run towards me and hunch up into itself. My hand was frozen at the point of the door, and I didn't have the strength to close it. Like my arm was full of warm water and unable to do anything but stay where it was. There was a sudden silence as I looked at the shadow thing, and it wasn't until Cardamom howled that I slammed the door shut hard enough that it rattled the glass panels. Damiana seemed to push against my legs and tried to maneuver me out of the room, but I couldn't look away from the tree line and the shadow thing. I think I may have stumbled on the carpet because the next thing I know I was flat on my butt with Damiana standing over my torso with her hackles?
Yeah, hackles, you're right.
Straight up and growling like I had never heard her. When I managed to wiggle out from under her and stand up, I called her and tried to get her away from the door, but she refused to move. I finally grabbed her by her collar and pulled her out of the room. When I hauled her out of the room, I hurried to the phone and called the local animal shelter and their officers to report the possible wild dog of large size. I told the officer what I had seen and heard, a large black or dark colored dog relatively the size of a Great Dane with a great deal of hair who was by the woods in my backyard, and I was apprehensive without approaching because of my own dog's reaction to the animal. I waited for the officers to come and sat with my dogs, loving on them and trying to calm us all down from what had happened, especially me. My stomach refused to unclench. Within the hour, I had 2 officers come out and take my statement. Both of my dogs were fawning over the visitors and loving the added attention. The men said they would check out the area and see what they could find. I told them that the woods was only half a mile wide and adjoined my neighborhood to an elementary school, and children constantly took it as a shortcut home. The men took what I said seriously and started off into my backyard. When they came to the edge between the woods and my yard, both of my dogs started to become nervous wrecks, drooling, whimpering, and stalking out the area between my kitchen and the dining room. The officers were out there for almost 3 hours, until it became dusky and their flashlights would be of little use in the dark. They came around to the house again, near the front door, and rang the bell. Usually Card, and I didn't see him ever shorten the name like this. It was Damiana, so I'm gonna say Damie.
Right.
Will rush to the door even when they know who it is. But this time, they came cautiously, and when the men tried to enter, both started to growl at the officers. It surprised me greatly to see the see the turnaround in their attitude to the men they had been rolling over before, to have their stomachs scratched by the same men. Now they sounded like they were ready for an attack. Even the officers seemed surprised, so instead of coming inside, I went out and left Card and Damie inside, and they went ballistic, howling and whimpering and barking, although I was just right outside. The officers had to yell over the noise to tell me they didn't find an animal matching my description, but they had found dog tracks near my house, but that the animal could have just been passing by, but they would inform the neighbors and schools to look for a stray dog. They informed me that a fence might help ease my tension, that if I saw it again to call them immediately. They left, and I re-entered my house to be pushed down and become reacquainted with my dog's tongues, and I went about looking for fencing estimates. It was around 3 months later. The fence had been put up since then, and I was going out for a morning walk with my dogs. My sister-in-law and my 2 nieces had come over for a visit, so I had left a note telling them I'd gone for a while, and I had my phone with me. Although I didn't believe they would need me, it was close to 4 in the morning. We went into the opposite direction of the woods, and it was about 45 minutes later my gut went cold, and I received a frantic call from my sister-in-law. Her 2 girls had woken up screaming, not crying, just screaming. They had been placed in the family room because that was the largest place for their cribs. And when my sister-in-law rushed in, she saw a friggin' big dog, these are in quotations, friggin' big dog, staring into the window from my backyard inside of the fence. Later, she told me that when she looked at the thing that she was afraid. No reason for it, just primarily afraid. It took her a moment, but she threw a blanket at the window and the dog disappeared. By the end of her call, I had already made a good track back to the house, but when we reached the block, Card and Damie almost took out my arms by just pulling me home. Inside, my sister-in-law had all the windows covered and every door locked. The girls had quieted down, but the smell was back, stronger than it had ever been, but it was acrid, like it was spoiled. Damie had gone to the window. The window that the dog was at. No one told her which, and just paced with hackles, raised, tall, straight up. Card had gone to the trio and was sniffing the girls and my sister-in-law and would stop to lick them at random intervals. Once I was assured everyone was fine, I called animal control and demanded that someone come out. Again, they searched to no avail, but they could not figure out how something had cleared the 7-foot fence, unless the dog was simply that massive. Not necessarily reassuring, but a good-to-know fact. My family left soon after. My sister-in-law was just so uncomfortable that she would jump at a door shutting too quickly. I was lately informed that things had started to occur with her at the twins, but it is another tale altogether. Since that day, I still have the strange behavior of both Card and Damie, but with reinforced fence and safety precautions, it has eased a lot of their tensions and abnormalities. I have since then rescued another dog, Anemone, a large white mutt, who also seems to dislike the woods behind my house. She also guards me and will join Damie on stalking patrol, but otherwise shows no strange behavior. I still have the woodsy smell in my house, and I can hear the whimper occasionally, but the shadow has not reappeared, and the strange animal has not made an encore performance. I occasionally have the gut feeling when walking home or anywhere near the wooded area, but I have yet to feel afraid. There was only one more time that I heard the animal showing up. My neighbor has 2 children who are students at the school behind the woods, and they reported to their mother a strange occurrence. And then they go to tell the occurrence. They were approaching my yard, and they heard something walking towards them. They said it sounded like a large animal, so they assumed it was one of mine. However, when they turned around, they saw a large, dark dog with yellow eyes, like it was looking at them sideways. And they took off running, only to have the animal follow them to my fence. Their mother said they were extremely frightened after that experience and demanded to know why my dog had bothered them. I pointed out to her that my dogs are both light-colored animals who are either too afraid of children or are physically incapable of chasing the boys. She had to coincide to my point after she saw Damie with her bright white face and Card's trouble rising up to greet her. I informed her of the issues I was having with a similar animal, and we left it at that, though I did inform her that I had notified animal control and the school of the issue, just so she understood and wouldn't further blame my dogs. There is some apprehension over the strange animal, but I deal with it, and I still have to walk away from the woods with my dogs in tow, otherwise they seem to want to stalk the wood line. I honestly hope that what I describe is just a strange occurrence of a wild animal coming in too close to society, and my dog's reactions thereafter. Somewhere deep down, I still feel a little uneasy when I think about what happened. I can logically explain the occurrence, the smell just being downwind of the area, the sounds being from my dogs or otherwise normal animal behavior, the shadow, my imagination, and the strange menacing shadow animal just basically saying I will hold on to my gut and keep an eye open. Sorry, typos. Maybe someone here can put my fears to rest or explain it. Well, thank you for your time and anything you have to offer.
Damn, all right.
I'll allow for some discussion, and then I have, I'm going to mention someone's comment and go into a little tangent. But go ahead, give me your thoughts.
The only note that I have is that when animals get anxious, that's when I start to pay attention.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like when you're out in the woods and everything goes silent. It's time to fuck off.
Yeah.
Listen to your animals.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's like a predator in the area.
Yeah.
My notes I have very interesting array of dog names, I will say.
Oh,
Yes.
Cardamom,
Damiana,
and then Anemone.
Anemone. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Anemone.
I was checking off the boxes as I was going. Dogs acting strange. Strange, unexplained, bad smell. That's very important. That's the bad kind of smell. Mm-hmm. Unexplained scratching and whimpering noises. I was like, all right. They're in for it. I found it interesting how, if you listen, there does seem to be something inside the house as well, like some kind of animal spirit inside the house as well. But the dogs don't care about those. They're fine with those. It's specifically the thing outside the house, like the thing in the woods.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I don't know, part of me is just, because I think it's some kind of energy, personally. I don't think if it were real that no harm would have come to someone yet, like any of those, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Because why would it decide to piss off once the kids got to the fence as well?
Right.
And then, like, yeah, we have dog tracks, but that could be completely unrelated. Like, I believe you said that the woman who lived there before had a bunch of animals.
Yes.
And so it could have been from that. I think the spirit, obviously I think the spirits of the animals, like, from before are hanging around, but I'm wondering what exactly occurred for the angry, like, dog spirit to be there or something. You know what I mean?
Plot twist, it's a dire wolf.
Plot twist, yeah.
You never know. You never know. Okay, are you guys ready for this comment?
Sure.
So, someone mentioned that it may be something called a shuck. You heard of
Yeah,
shuck?
I have. I actually have.
So, and then another person replied, "What's a shuck?" So I'm going to read this. Mm-hmm. Black shuck, old shock, or simply shuck is the name given to a ghostly black dog, which is said to roam the coastline and countryside of East Anglia. Accounts of the animal can form part of the folklore of Norfolk, Suffolk, and Cambridgeshire fens. And I always mess up this name here because it's like England.
Sure.
Essex.
Yeah.
Every time. The name shuck may derive from Old English word meaning demon, or possibly from a local dialect word shucky meaning shaggy or hairy. Mm-hmm. Black shuck is one of the many ghostly black dogs recorded across the British Isles. Sometimes recorded as an omen of death, sometimes a more companionable animal is classified as a cryptid, and there are varying accounts of the animal's appearance. Writing in 1877, Walter Rye stated that the Shuck was the most curious of our local apparitions, as they are no doubt varieties of the same animal. Its alleged appearance in 1577 at Bungay and Blythburgh is a particularly famous account of the beast, and the images of black sinister dogs have become part of the iconography?
Iconography.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Dahlia has trouble pronouncing things.
Words are hard. It's
Part
okay.
105
100% understand.
of the area. So, guys.
So it's if you ever heard big black ghostly dog, that's what it is. That's a Black Shuck.
I will say, they mentioned a lot of like over the pond there.
Sure.
This takes place in Alaska. So it's not
interesting.
quite across the pond.
Well, we get, at least from my understanding, we get accounts of these like ghostly black dogs all over. They just happen to be more expansive and like common, I guess. Excuse me, in like the English territories. That's where we get like the Grimm from Harry Potter, or like that, I believe, the Hound of the Baskervilles from Sherlock Holmes. It's all back to like this ghostly black dog thing, like the Black Shuck. And you always have, like you said, they can range from being like hunting you and like being omens of death to being like a comfort almost. And thinking about it now, saying it out loud, what if those are just spirits of dogs, like all different varied dogs, but they appear as shadows, and that's why they appear as black dogs?
Right. I mean...
No, yeah. Very interesting. No, I love those kind of tales. I think that's really neat. I was thinking that like the whole time, basically.
You guys want to see some pictures?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Let's see it. Yeah, let's see them.
So the first picture, I'm gonna send the first two at the same time.
Sure.
They're just example pictures of what Cardamom and Damiana can look like. Damiana would be the pity mix, and Cardamom would be the shaggy one.
Oh my gosh!
Because they said that
such good babies.
Yeah, Cardamom is a shaggy mixed breed, while Damiana was a pity mix, so a large pity mix. So. Big babies. I'm having some technical difficulties with my photos. I don't know if you've ever had this, honey. This is my first time with Samsung.
What's
but
up?
Some of my photos are just appearing like this, gray with a...
Oh, yeah, that means they're the wrong format.
Got it.
You download the wrong format. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, you know what you could do? Try to send them from your gallery. Like, go into your gallery to where the photos are, press the share button, and sometimes it'll allow you to be like, do you want to send this as like a WebMP or something like that, or do you want to send it as an image? That usually helps me.
Okay.
I've actually had to start doing that because so many of my pictures did that.
This was never an issue for me when I had an iPhone, I will say. That's one of the good things, I guess. So I sent the picture.
Yeah, I got it.
Oh.
Sorry, I don't know what that was.
So that if you look up a shuck... That is, or a black shuck, that is the picture that pops up. Although if you remember in the encounter, someone mentioned who saw it, they had yellow eyes. This picture shows red eyes.
It's varied from what I understand, yeah.
So it may or may not have been a black shuck, but yeah. Those are my pictures.
Yeah, very interesting. No, I love a good, like... animal spirit story. That was really, really interesting, and I find it more interesting how there's obviously stuff within their house as well, and whether they've noticed more things happening than just like the odd occurrences, the shadows and the whimpering. It's probably just overshadowed by the fact that there's a giant, seemingly threatening black dog outside of the house, you know?
Yep.
Yeah.
Which is crazy, because something has to be really bad in order to distract you from something that's going on inside your house, right?
Do you think that the noise is going on inside or from the past animals, like protecting the place from that?
I don't know about protecting, but I do think they're from the past animals.
Well,
whether they're spirits or echoes, you know what I mean? It could be, though, because... I don't know. It was able to get into her backyard before because it was charging at her at the door. But once she put that barrier up with the fence, now it stops at the fence. Which that's interesting to me as well, you know.
Well, it came over the fence that one time.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true. That's fair. I forgot about that. Yeah, possibly. That's very possible. All right. Well, good story. Your coffee
Agreed.
not tasting good anymore?
It's very watered down at the
I
bottom.
see.
Ah.
Okay. Well, yeah. Thank you for your story.
No problem.
All right, B, what have you got to close us out today with?
I have got a short story that is a reminder to be mindful.
Boy, do I need that. Always.
I didn't grab a picture of what the full original post was.
Sure.
But it was something along the lines of, you've had a story to tell, but it's been too long. I want to listen. What's your story? Kind of thing. A commenter goes on to say, well, it's one of those don't go to bed mad type stories. And I think about this story anytime I'm mad at someone close to me. My little sister and I are very close, and the rare occasion we have an argument, it's resolved pretty quickly. One day I had a job interview on the same day that she did, but finances were tight and we were sharing a car. It was time, so that we decided to go to mine We decided to go to mine at 11, have lunch together, and then go to hers at 2, as they were pretty close by. It was the day before the interviews, and just everything was going wrong. I didn't want to eat where she did. She wanted her boyfriend to come, and I didn't. She wanted to leave me at lunch and take the car herself, while I argued that that was a waste of gas and time. There were other things, but those were the main points. So we go to bed fuming, and wake up the next day still mad. We barely eat breakfast and head to my interview in almost total silence. I'm interviewing at a hospital, so the parking is complex and I had to park a bit of a walk away. I tell her that I'll text her when I'm done, she can swing by and get me, and she just goes, whatever. I call her a brat and slam the door. Interview goes super quick, so I walk out and text her. Nothing. I call her. Nothing. Great, now she's ignoring me. So I march over to our car, still phoning her, and still hear it going to voicemail. I get furious. I get to the car furious, and then my heart stops. It's empty, with her purse still on the floor. I felt like I was dying. I started shouting her name. The world was spinning in slow motion. I tried thinking she was just taking a walk, even though it was snowing. She had to go to the restroom. This is a prank because we fought. Her boyfriend picked her up. I kept calling and getting voicemail the entire time, even leaving some begging her to just pick up. Like it was a damn movie. I had dialed 911, and then I saw her walking out of the hospital with coffee and a bag of food. She saw me and jogged up to me looking sheepish, saying she was sorry she missed me and that she had bought us coffee and donuts as an olive branch. She thought my interview would be way longer and She thought that my interview would be way longer and she had time. She had left her purse because she didn't want to go through security, and the hospital signal wasn't letting my calls go through. I just hugged her, crying, saying how sorry I was. It put everything in perspective for me, and how in those moments I felt dead, and that my last words were calling her a brat. Long story short, we both ended up crying and apologizing, and we haven't fought like that since. I don't tell it often because I sound like a super warrior, or people point out everyone has bad days, or I overreacted by almost calling the police. But at that moment, my best friend was missing in a bad part of town with no money, no ID, no phone, and I was helpless. But every time I want to snap at her, I remember that empty car seat, and it immediately puts things in perspective. Always communicate with respect and passion.
I don't think it's at all dramatic.
I don't either.
To about to call the police, because
Nope.
like, if you don't know what's going on, like, I don't think people call the police fast enough, or I don't think people call for help rather fast enough sometimes.
Yep.
And yeah, it's a very good reminder for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know me and Dalia as a couple, we always try to adhere to that, which like we don't really argue a whole lot. Well, we bicker sometimes, but
it's nothing.
like serious. So
Yeah.
that's I'm thankful for that
Yeah.
at least.
So, because of the way that my brain works, when
Yeah.
I start getting heated, I have to walk away from a situation, remove myself, calm down, and then I can come back to it and have a good conversation with you.
Yeah.
My husband is a fixer, but we've got to the point now where we've never had like an argument in the sense where we've raised our voices at each other or anything like that.
Sure.
But I love that he gives me that space to walk away, calm down, and then I can come back and we can actually have a conversation about what's happening.
Right. That's very important to have.
My picture is nothing special. It's just some sisters holding each other for a placeholder.
Aww.
Yeah.
Your pictures are always special. Don't count yourself out.
There's one pretty special one in here that I can't wait for you guys to see.
Really?
It's the last picture and it's my favorite.
Cute.
Well, all right. Thank you for that. That was a nice one.
Of course, I thought so
Appreciate
too.
that. A very good reminder, because like I was like, B, you're the good story person. What's going on?
Yep.
About to happen.
Yep.
But yeah, thank you guys so much for listening today. Thank you for spending your Sunday or any part of your week with us. You might be binging this on like a random Friday, or you're listening to this as it comes out on a Sunday. Either way, we appreciate you. You can find us on Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky, but not Twitter because...
Fuck Twitter.
Fuck Twitter. And fuck Elon Musk. I've been saying that a lot during my streams, too.
Yeah, fuck that guy.
But don't fuck that guy.
Don't actually fuck that guy. He's got too many goddamn kids.
Yeah. No, yeah. As you probably already know, you can listen to us anywhere you listen to podcasts. You can watch... You can kind of watch us on YouTube. There's like a nice waveform for a video, and we put the pictures up on the YouTube. But the pictures will be normally on social media. Also, we have a Facebook. I forgot the Facebook one.
Yeah.
Fucking Mark Zuckerberg and fucking Facebook.
Yeah.
Facebook movie.
You can also rate and review us anywhere that you are able to, obviously. I believe the ones I know of are Facebook, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. And if you have your own stories, whether it be a paranormal experience or a wholesome or funny moment that happened in your life, you can email us at TPIBOTE@outlook.com. That is TPIBOTE@outlook.com. If they are paranormal stories, put in the subject line, they are for Dalia, no H. And if they are happy other kind of stories, they are for B, that's BEE.
I like the funny stories. You can send funny stories too.
Funny stories are great.
Yeah, send funny
Funny,
stories too, yeah.
inspirational, impactful, happy, anything but shit.
You know the stuff we end on. Just those kind of stories. Anything you think would be good to end on. An up note, a happy note, right?
Yeah.
All right. Am I missing anything?
I don't think so.
All right.
No.
Who would like to lead us out?
Me?
I guess B is being voluntold.
Okay. All right. I like being voluntold to do things. But as always, we appreciate you guys hanging out. And this podcast was based on true events.